Survivor is always changing, and this episode proved no different. So let's unpack episode 5 of season 47 of Survivor. Okay, so there was kind of a little bit of aftermath from the last tribal council, but I don't think it's as important. So I want to hop straight into this episode's reward challenge. Here's what's so crazy. So the teaser made it seem like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have a big like switch, not necessarily the merge, but like maybe a tribe switch. And the tribes, as they're walking up to the challenge site, are like, oh my gosh, we're going to 2 tribes. But instead, Jeff's like, hey, we're gonna do something we've never done before. For this very specific reward challenge, not immunity, but a reward challenge, we're gonna take these 3 tribes and make 2 random teams. And then from here, we're gonna have this quote unquote new reward. We're gonna go to the sanctuary and you're gonna have what's called social hour. And basically what this is you're gonna have some food, some drinks, and then you're gonna get to socialize with other tribes. Or tribe mates, sorry.
But you do go back to your original tribes after.
But you will return before the immunity challenge back to your normal tribe. So this was an interesting kind of twist. I will say I almost would have been more excited by forming into 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was built up to be bigger than it was.
Yes, yes. Now quickly run me through this reward challenge.
So for the challenge, after they're divided into their teams, they have to all race under this, almost like, I would call it a jungle gym-esque thing.
Yeah.
Get some, a bag with keys in it. Then they have to go and everybody has to unlock a key to a ladder and have to maneuver it out of this windy, I don't even know what you call it, but then after that, they have to take their ladder and get 6 balls that are hanging in bags down. Then one person, well, they alternate the team-wise to shoot baskets, basically, scoring goals. And whoever fills all 5 baskets first wins.
Yeah, very high stakes. And here's what's crazy is, so the challenge is one thing, but what I kind of appreciate about the social hour aspect is just like, even like with the journeys they go on, some people divulge a lot of information, potentially too much, you could argue, while other people are more reserved in just collecting it all. And what we see kind of unfold in between this social hour reward and the next immunity challenge is these tribes kind of going back together, and you see little things unravel. Like some people kind of divulge everything back to the tribe, while some people are like, hey, this person was talking smack on you during the reward about you that are on the same tribe, right? So I do think that it was like a weird kind of like revealing of information that was like potentially important to the game, which I did appreciate.
Well, and it really just shows the dynamics of the tribes, like who was flat out truthful, who held a little bit of the truth back, and who just didn't flat out tell anybody.
Yes, it gives you a good tease of kind of what to look at, I guess. So then we move into this episode's immunity challenge. And here's what's interesting. So they walk into the immunity challenge and you see Gata, who's the yellow tribe. They walk in with their little cage of hens that they won, or chickens, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The last episode before. And they're like, Jeff, here's the thing. We cannot get them to lay an egg. We're not getting basically what we
they're like,
got out of it.
We've gotten 3 eggs and 2 of them broken. So.
Yes, and so they're like, can we negotiate with you? Because Jeff has always said he's willing to negotiate rewards as long as your offer is like valid and of reason.
Yeah.
Right. So they negotiate, they figure that out, blah, blah, blah. So then we get into the actual challenge, which...
So for this challenge, they have to cut down a rope, which Andy struggles. First of all, he had the knife backwards for a good minute.
That man...
He's definitely something.
On the struggle bus.
Very much so. But then after they cut the rope down, they have to fill this bag full of coconuts and sandbags.
Yeah.
And then they have to drag it down this long course, fill it again, and then take it down even farther. Then they have to get all their sandbags out, placed into a bucket, and knock over this survivor puzzle. And they have to, it's like, I don't know, probably like 5 by 5.
Yeah.
And then once they get it all knocked down, they have to put it back together.
Yeah.
And then whoever finishes it first wins, which ended up being, if I can remember correctly, it was Tuku.
Yeah.
Because it came down to the wire between Lavo and Gata.
It was very neck and neck, and then Gata ends up losing, which here's what's interesting about this, is they were, if I'm getting this right, the first tribe to go to tribal council of the season, and they voted John off, who was the oldest on the tribe, I would say, not older, oldest guy on the tribe who had the podcast, didn't really have good social relationships. Andy kind of messed that whole thing up. So anyway, he goes. But here's what's crazy is we've seen this kind of fight for power, this very kind of alpha-based fight between Annika and, what is the guy's name? Sam, maybe? And we finally get to see this kind of play out head-to-head for this tribal council, which is very interesting because you're not really sure where people stand. And Andy, who's on the bottom, you're like, is he going to weasel his way in or is he going to be the one out? So what's interesting is you kind of see this play out. So we get to tribal council and you're like, okay, So now we're realizing, okay, so you've got Andy is kind of working with Sierra and Sam, and Sierra and Sam are the not couple, which is the whole thing.
Right.
And then you've got Annika and
Caroline.
Rachel.
Oh.
Caroline's
Oh, yeah, Caroline's on too.
Yeah, and
That's
Rachel.
Right.
And that's a whole funny thing too, because Rachel thinks that she's working with Sam and Sierra. So it becomes
Yeah.
this whole thing. So then we go to vote.
Well,
and
Annika doesn't even have her vote, too.
yes, that as well. So Annika can't vote. So then they go to do the votes, and it's majority Annika, and Annika ends up going home. But what's crazy about this is not only was Annika blindsided, so first of all, she's a great moment. That's all over social media about how she stands and basically like makes them say whose fault it was, and Sam owns up to it. But what's interesting is not only was Annika blindsided, but so was Rachel. Rachel really thought they were voting out Andy. So I'm interested now to see how this is going to play out back at camp.
Yeah, it'll be very
because
interesting.
we're going to see how this unravel. But then also, it seems like in tonight's new episode that they're teasing, maybe not the merge, because we know they have to work for the merge and there's all these crazy things in the new era, but they're definitely going to be on one tribe is what it's seeming like, because there was one immunity necklace, so people are convinced that we're going down. And so I will be interested. Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say maybe it's going to be 2 teams again.
I think it's one, but I don't know for sure. You know, the teasers are always misleading. But so I'm very interested to see how this kind of fares for Rachel, because now she's, in my opinion, kind of on her own island again. So anyway, this is craziness. I can't wait to see how this all plays out. This was an amazing episode. Brand new episodes of Survivor Wednesdays on CBS. Tune in.